What's going on, everybody? Eric Barassa here, and today I'm giddy with excitement because I get to teach you one of my favorite songs of all time. Blink-182's What's My Age Again. I first learned this song like back in high school when it first came out. This is literally one of my maybe top 5 favorite songs of all time. Back when I was in middle school in the 7th grade, I had a pen pal from California. She and I grew up together as toddlers, and eventually they moved away, and we would write letters. Yes, actually physical letters to each other in the mail. And she wrote me a letter once and said, "Have you heard of this band Blink-182?" And I was like, "No." So I went to the store and found the album Dude Ranch. I was there with my aunt, and she was like, "Eric, I don't know if you should buy this album." It had, you know, the bull on the front with the big cojones, and then song titles like Pathetic and Voyeur and Degenerate. and of course, I didn't even know what most of these words meant at the time. But I was like, it looks fun. It's gonna be great. So I took it home, and that was really my first punk rock record. That was my gateway into the world of punk. And it became the soundtrack to my middle school years. I was like, what is this? This is incredible. And to this day, it's in my top 10 favorite albums ever. So fast forward a few years, and I hear What's My Age Again on the radio, and I was like, this is a cool song. And at the end, they're like, that's Blink-182 with What's My Age Again. I was like, oh my God, it's that band. I gotta go get this album. So of course I got the album, and Enema of the State is my top number 1 or number 2 favorite album of all time. It kind of switched places with another 90s album that maybe we'll talk about it at some point. So anyway, I have a deep love for this song. It's short and it's fast, and it's surprisingly a little bit of a challenge. So I hope you guys have fun with it. So the intro to What's My Age Again, I first learned in an incorrect position back in high school from a Guitar World transcription. They had it written here. And it's really, really hard to play. And it wasn't until later that I learned that Tom actually played it up here. Okay, so a couple of things about the tone. I'm playing a Fender Strat. This is my Mexican Strat that I've had for 21 years. And I love it to death. It sounds incredible. I've got a Seymour Duncan Invader pickup, which is what Tom would have most likely used during this time period, in a Strat, into a Mesa amp. So I'm using my Mesa TC50 right now to get that clean sound, and I think that this sounds pretty close to the sound he actually had there. Now on the performance recording, you're hearing me play through my Friedman 20-watt runt, and that amp breaks up very quickly, especially with such a hot output, hot pickup like this. So you're going to hear it breaking up a little bit there. But really how you're hearing it right now is kind of the preferred tone. So here's what we're going to do is we're going to hold 11 and 11 on the 3rd and the 2nd strings with our ring finger and our pinky, and then our index is, those are going to stay there the whole time. Our index is going to follow the bass line while those stay in place. So you might just practice. You've got 9 on the 4th string, 9 on the 5th string, 9 on string 6, 11 on string 6. And then we're just going to pick string 4, 3, 2, 3 in order, like that. I'm just going to use all downstrokes because I actually find it easier. We're at about 160 BPM. I guess these are probably 8th notes. Yeah, that seems about right. Yes, that is correct. And make sure and anchor your picking hand by putting at least your pinky, but you can also put the other fingers down, just gently rest them under the strings, either anchor under string 1 or loosely here. So you can see that my hand is touching the board, but it's loosely moving along it. Now, you don't want to just openly float. It's too hard to control your hand at that speed. So you got to anchor here, and then also make sure your forearm is resting on top of the guitar as well. Those are our 2 anchor points there. Okay, at the end of the verse, the first half is the same, but the second half, we reach over to the 11, play that part twice, and then play the 9 twice before we go into the chorus. One other quick thing about the fret hand position, be sure and twist your hand a little bit to get 11, 11, 11. That's tough to cram 3 different fingers on the same fret of different strings. So I twist my arm a little bit, right? So my arm stays straight, but it's just twisted to the side a little bit. Here is the chord progression for the chorus. Okay, and we're doing F sharp 5, the 2nd fret on string 6, to C sharp 5, 4th fret on the 5th string, D sharp 5 at the 6th fret on the 5th string, and B5, the 2nd fret on the 5th string. I call this the chord progression because you see it come up so much in pop punk as well as just in punk rock, or not so much in punk rock, but in pop music as well. It's a very common chord progression, so it's a good idea to recognize this pattern. You'll also sometimes see it like this, where the first chord is up an octave. Okay? Lots and lots of songs use that chord progression shape. So this is a 1, 5, 6, 4 chord progression for those of you that like your music theory. I'm using a 2-note power chord here. I just prefer the sound of it to the 3-note power chord for this song. Here's the difference. 3-note power chord. That extra octave that the 3-note power chord adds, I don't know. For whatever reason, I just don't like it in this song. Don't ask me for logic on that. So what I'm doing is when you play a power chord, the technique here is very important. You want your thumb to be about halfway down behind the neck, and you want your index finger tip to be pushing against string 6, but then gently curved and resting across the other strings. Do not curl your finger like this. It needs to block the other strings. This takes a little time to get used to the right angle. So again, keep the thumb about halfway down on the back of the neck, behind the 2nd fret. Index finger, slight rainbow curve, only the tip applying pressure. Okay, and then we do the same thing with the pinky. The pinky is on the 4th fret of the 5th string, and it is only applying a pressure with the tip, and then gently curved and blocking the other strings. So the index is blocking all strings that are not being played, but the pinky is blocking all strings that are not being played. So it's a double whammy there. That is the proper power chord technique. Okay? When we go to the 5th string power chords, the way I learned how to block string 6 is by watching Tom DeLonge play on Saturday Night Live many, many years ago, and he would use his middle finger to block. So this is tricky because your middle finger has to just kill that string, but make sure it doesn't get in the way of the next string. And then make sure you're applying pressure with index and pinky, but not the middle finger. So it's like this. Right? When you play them all one at a time, you should only hear the 2 notes so that you can strum all strings. And you get a clear power chord. You can also use the tip of your index finger to block string 6 there. Okay? So the rhythm of this, what we're going to do is we're going to strum the first chord once, down on the F sharp 5, down on open, and you don't have to hit all the strings when you do the open, but you can. It's not written that way in the tab, but just know that it doesn't really matter if you only hit the thickest strings or if you hit all the strings. And then we've got up, down on the C sharp 5. So practice that first. And then we do the same thing going to the D sharp 5. Down on open, up, down on D sharp 5. And then down on open. And then on the B5, our final chord, we have up, down, with our last up being our transition back to the first chord. So nice and slow, we have down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay? Full speed. Okay, cool. So at the end of the chorus, we have our turnaround, just like we did in the verse. Okay, so we hit the D sharp 5 8 times, C sharp 5 8 times, and then we land on the B5 and let it ring. And a second guitar goes back and plays the intro one more time. Now, when we go into the verse, we're going to be using palm muting for the whole thing. So back in high school, I had no idea what that effect was, what that sound was, and I kept trying to play the song with no palm muting, and I was like, why won't mine sound like that? What am I missing here? And I was at this pool party in high school, and I remember my friend Brian, who he was like the guitar guy in middle school and high school, and I was like, dude, how do you play this song? And he goes, well, you got to palm mute. So the way I think of it is you karate chop with your strumming hand where the bridge meets the strings, okay? You leave it rested there, and then you strum just the strings that you want to hit. It's too hard to hit all the strings when you're palm muting, so you're usually just hitting 2 or 3 strings at a time. And so if you come too far forward, it doesn't work. You go too far back, it doesn't work. So you got to find that sweet spot. Okay, so again, practice karate chopping right where the palm, right where the bridge meets the strings, and then just bring your hand over like that. Now, we're going to hit each chord 4 times. But are we really? No, because it's fast enough, we need to use our open string transition between the chords. Now, when you are staying on string 5, you can just slide. You don't have to do the open. Sometimes I like to do it just for consistency, but either way is fine. So you're really only hitting each chord 3 times with the open string transitions. 1, 2, 3, lift. 1, 2, 3, lift. 1, 2, 3, lift. 1, 2, 3, lift. Okay, full speed. All right, now you could go 1, 2, 3, lift. 1, 2, 3, lift. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can slide on the 5th string, but it's up to you. It really doesn't make a big difference in the sound at all. Here it is with all open string transitions. Here it is without, but only during the string changes. Right? You really don't hear a difference there. And then the last part is at the very last time through the verse, same thing like we did on the chorus and like we did in the clean part of the verse. We play the first half the same way. Second half, we do our turnaround. And you can do a pick scrape there if you wanted to. So that's it. That's all the distorted parts of What's My Age Again. In fact, that's all the parts of What's My Age Again. Hey, you've got it. All right, so the other clean part of the song is the bridge, and we're going to play that here at 6 and 7 on the first 2 strings. And we just lift off the middle finger when we need the open B and then put it back on. That's most likely where Tom would have played it. Then he moves into this. Right, so you play that 4 times, so we hit F sharp on the 4th fret of string 4 3 times. And then we hammer on 3 to 4 of the 3rd string. So when you hammer on, make sure and just give that enough pressure when it comes down. 4 and 3 on the 2 middle strings, and then 2 on the very first string. And I don't know why I play down and up on this, but I do my old school picking. You could also just do all downstrokes. So either way is fine of those 3. Just choose your path, choose your destiny. Be sure and like and subscribe, and don't smash that like button. I want you to gently caress and woo it. Check out FortWorthMusicAcademy.com. That's the music school that I own here in Fort Worth, Texas. If you're looking for live lessons in person and you live in the DFW area, or you're looking to do live online lessons, and get in touch with us that way. And then, of course, check out my membership website at unlimitedguitar.com. And as my great Aunt Winona always says, Glibber glabber, papa.